Well, hello and welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson. Now, this is a show all about helping you deliver e-commerce well. And to help us do just that today, I am chatting with Jaryd Krause from buyingonlinebusinesses.com in probably what is the most exotic location we've talked to anybody on this show. And if the clue is not in the web domain buyingonlinebusinesses.com, we're going to be talking about buying online businesses. That's what we're getting into today. So we're going to talk about buying and selling and all that sort of stuff. But before we get into that, a warm welcome to you if this is your first time with us here on the e-commerce podcast. Great to have new listeners every week. I just encourage you to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, if you haven't done so already, head over to ecommercepodcast.net, enter your email address, and we'll send to you every week the notes and the links from the shows direct to your inbox. So you get all the show notes straight away. So it's a beautiful thing. So just head over to ecommercepodcast.net to do that. Now, let's talk about Jaryd. He invested his way out of his plumbing job, quitting in 2015, and now owns multiple online businesses. He helps others buy profitable online businesses, enabling them to spend their time doing what they love, with who they love. Now, Jaryd has scaled businesses from 6 to 8 figures, saving and making people millions of dollars online. Maybe we'll get into the secrets that he's got on that. And his Buying Online Businesses podcast is the #2 passive income podcast online. So do check that out if this topic does interest you. It's a great podcast, and not just because I've been on it, but because it is just genuinely a great podcast. But Jaryd, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you on this one. How are we doing?
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, what an intro. Really appreciate it. I'm doing really good. How are you, Matt?
Yeah. Slightly envious of your location. So let's get that out of the way. Whereabouts in the world are you right now?
I'm on a little island in Indonesia called Sumbawa.
Sumbawa. Never heard of it. That maybe shows my ignorance.
It's not a popular tourist destination. I mean, in Indonesia, I live in Indonesia and Bali, but this is not a popular tourist destination. It's known by surfers, and a lot of surfers do come here. And I'm just on a bit of a strike mission. So we're chasing a swell, which has been the last 2 days. And just surfing our brains out and doing a little bit of work in between. I have another friend who is a marketer, digital marketer here with me. We've been hunting waves for a while, and in a new location this time.
Well, I'm not going to lie, slightly envious. I love this because before we hit the record button, you said to me, I'm on a surf mission. I'm like, what is a surf mission? And this is where I'm intrigued. It feels like it's something out of Point Break, you know, the movie, the original one with Keanu Reeves. Was it Patrick Swayze? It feels like, you know, which character are you out of that movie doing these sort of surf missions?
I'd love to say I'm Keanu, but I mean, I don't know. Probably won't take all the glory. I'm not that good of a surfer. I have been doing it for a long time, but I should be better than I am.
No, fair play. And it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, as a side here, I suppose, with the businesses that you do, with doing online business, it means that actually you can jump on a plane, you can go surf around the world where the storms and stuff come in. And you can do that, you can pursue that with your friends because you actually have the freedom to do that, I suppose, with your business. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I got started, right? Like you said in the intro, I was a plumber and I wanted to work out how I could travel around the world and surf. So that's how I transition, is literally Googling how to travel the world and make money online. And then that's where I got this thing started so I could, continue this lifestyle.
So when you Googled that, what came up?
Basically travel blogging, right? That's travel blogging, travel photography, those sort of things. And I bought a camera a couple of months prior to that, and I thought, okay, cool. And I was getting into my photography, so I thought, all right, let's turn this into a blog. And that was unsuccessful.
No surprise there, but
And then well, I knew nothing about SEO, and then I decided, all right, cool. I'm gonna start an e-commerce business. That's where the money's made, right?
Mm.
E-commerce. So I started an e-commerce business, drop shipping business, selling travel products to piggy off back off what I had been doing with the travel blogging and that traffic that I'd gained. And I sold maybe like a handful of products and didn't make much money at all. And then I realized, oh wait, I don't know about SEO and I don't know what digital marketing is or paid marketing is. So I had to learn both of those skills, and then I started to make some traction.
So how long was it then between quitting your job as a plumber until you actually started to make a livable income from your online business? What was that time period?
Well, it didn't work out that way in terms of linearly. I was working on replacing my income before I left my plumbing job.
Right.
So, yeah. So I think I did in 2013 is when I first started my first online business, my travel blog. And then in 2015 is when I quit my job. But I'd done a lot of things in the meantime. I had bought two businesses in that time. I'd started two, and then I'd bought two businesses in that time frame.
Wow.
And the two businesses that I acquired, I stopped the two ones that I started, and the two businesses I acquired had started earning me more money than my plumbing job, which allowed me to quit at the end of 2015. And then I, continued my travel. I went and surfed Central and South America for a year and a half, and bought another business. And then people were like, "Dude, you need to teach me this stuff. How, like, what's going on?" So that's where I started the buyingonlinebusiness.com thing, helping people do the same.
So this is fascinating because I hear all the time people wanting to sell e-com businesses, right? So everybody has got this
Mm.
thing in their head, they want to exit, they want to build their business, they want to exit. Usually, when I talk to e-commerce entrepreneurs about it, because we acquire e-com business, one of the things that we do, and I know we've talked about that, but we. I don't know if you hear the same thing as I do. Everybody wants at least 1 million, and they're going to exit in 2 to 3 years' time. Although the old million, it used to be 1 million, it's more like 5 million now. Everybody wants to exit for 5 million. It's that kind of sweet spot, right?
Yeah, people are like even eight figures. Eight figures like the let's get an eight-figure exit is a
Yeah.
pretty high up there one now as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
if only it was that easy. But the
Yeah.
but I'm intrigued because actually you started your own businesses, but actually quite quickly it sounds like you acquired two businesses, which is not the usual market. Most of the people not the usual market, not the usual route. Most of the time I hear stories of people who are startups, right? So we saw a problem, we started our ecom business, we got the thing growing, and here we are, and it's turning over, X amount of dollars or pounds or whatever. But you
Mm.
actually started out you started your own, but quite quickly you acquired some business. And this was pre 2015, right? It sounds like. So this is going back a few years. I'm curious
Mm.
as to why you did that, because it was not common practice. What made you acquire an online business?
Well, I started these two, right? And I didn't know anything. It was really hard to get traffic and revenue. They're the two biggest problems, I guess, when you're starting a business, an online business.
They
And
are
I found it
important, yeah.
super, super hard. Yeah, they're just slightly important. And so I was struggling with this. And then as I was working as a plumber, I came across a stat. And that statistic was that 90% of all startups fail. And I thought to
Mm.
myself, hang on, like if 90% of these things fail and I've started two, I've got another eight that I need to start for one to be successful. Do I have the
Okay.
stomach for that? And then I thought to myself, well, let's see if I could buy. I'm sure I could just run one of these. Like I'm not. I was confident in myself that I could run one, and so I thought, let me see if I can run one, then I could maybe save up some money and buy one. And then I went on to Google and see if you could acquire these online businesses I bought my first one in 2014, and you could. There is a marketplace, flipper.com. It's probably the longest standing one around. And I didn't know anything about acquiring. So I had to teach myself how to, and there was nobody really teaching this stuff. So I had to teach
Yeah.
myself how to acquire the online business and do the due diligence and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and that's sort of why and then I bought the first one. It worked out well. So I was like, well, okay, let's rinse and repeat this method. And yeah, that's sort of it happened.
So the business, can I ask what was the business you acquired?
Yeah, absolutely. The first business I acquired was a database of wholesalers and suppliers that people that were starting dropshipping businesses could tap into to find suppliers and wholesalers for the products they wanted to sell. And it was just a membership.
Simple as. And how long had the website been up and running at that point when you bought it?
Honestly, I can't recall. It was a number of years. It was a person out of Sydney. It was an Indian person out of Sydney that started it, and they had the reason I wanted to buy it is because they already had people on these monthly memberships and annual, quarterly, and annual memberships, and I thought, well, they're paying this money into this PayPal account every month, and they're members, and the database works, and they're signing up, so let's buy this thing.
Why would you not? I mean, this was even before memberships were cool, right? It's just like this is quite
Far before it was cool, right?
Yeah,
Memberships
yeah.
became cool like maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And here you are buying a sort of pre-runner to this, which I think is quite extraordinary. So can I ask, do you remember what you paid for the business, or was it a unique deal that you'd sort of put together?
Yeah, I paid 15,000 for it. Yeah, that was I had some money in the stock market that I wasn't doing so well in the stock market with, and that I'd saved from plumbing, and then I acquired this, and then worked my way up to larger acquisitions from there.
Very good. So it's what I like to call squeaky bum time, isn't it? Where you just take some of that
Yeah,
money and put it into something like that. How did you
absolutely.
how did you value the business then? Was it you put your 15 grand in? You obviously thought it was worth 15 grand.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at like a year multiple, and I thought, can I, what's the risk? What's the risk of these people not making my 15 grand back in a year when you've already got members subscribed? And yeah, so how I value the business then is very differently to how I would value a business now based on how much I know about due diligence and I guess the thousands of deals we've looked at. But it was pretty scrappy at the start, I'll tell you.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So how would you? And this is one of the questions that people just love to ask when it comes to selling a business. How do I value my ecom business? So what are some of the things that I need to think about?
That's a great question for your audience. Some of the things you need to think about is, I mean, the market, really. The market is what sets the price, and you kind of need to look at what sort of niche or industry your business is in, what sort of product it is, and look at where the market has been and what sort of has sold around that price range. And it can be difficult if you're not in the acquisition market and you don't know what these are selling for. You'd want to be going to speak to brokers. I'm not completely a broker, solely a broker, but you want to be speaking to people and looking at the market and different marketplaces or online brokers to sort of see what is listed for sale with the type of product you have in the space or industry that you're in. And that can help you get a bit of a multiple. And then you also need to think about risk. So you need to see how much risk your business carries for a new owner. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that's going to acquire. Is how much risk are they going to be taking on, and what is that level of risk compared to other businesses that are on the market for sale as well? Which, if the business typically has less risk, it's going to go for a higher multiple. It's going to be a more attractive acquisition for a buyer. They're the things. They're the key things I would say you really need to think about. Is the market and the person that's going to purchase it, and how do you value it based on that?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I'm speaking to and it's probably worth saying, actually, dear listener, if you're listening to the show and think, what's Matt talking about? One of my companies is we acquire online businesses. We have a set strategy. If you're interested in that, I'm more than happy to talk to you. But we have several conversations going on at any one point in time, right? And some of the deals that I'm looking at the moment, the ones I'm just thinking of the ones that I don't really want to get involved with are the ones where if I was to verbalize why, which I don't know if I have, but you sort of get this gut feel, don't you? Sometimes a lot of that comes down to risk, like how much risk is involved for me to take this on, and the risk is never normally around ecom because I'm fairly confident I know the stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's more the risk in the relationships, in the continued supply of that product, or in the actually this product is not unique and people from all over the place can start selling that. They're the kind of risk factors that I start to think about that make me sort of walk away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so there is multiple, depending on the type of business, say it's an e-commerce business or something else, it if you can reduce those risks in terms of single source dependency on a supplier, single source dependency on traffic, revenue, product, uh, and then also, key person dependency, key relationship dependency. How can you, if you're trying, say if your goal is to exit your e-commerce business and you want to get a higher price, which is probably most people listening, is how can you remove most of that risk and set yourself a good time frame to be able to do so, which we talked about in the podcast when you came on my podcast, Matt, is talking about what can we do to set people up and how much time may it take to get to a point where you are able to make the exit, and understand how much time it might take as well.
Yeah, yeah, because it's never a quick thing. This is what I think when I sold my first ecom business. I'm going back 2000. Oh, when was it? 2002. I mean, you're going back a few years, Jaryd. Showing my age a little bit. When I sold my first
just 22.
Yeah, I was just 22.
No, but it's
12.
cool because you're in the game longer than everybody else.
Yeah.
You're 12 years old. Yeah.
I was 12 years old at the time, sold my first ecom business.
Yeah. 8-figure exit at 12 years old. Great. Well done.
If only that. Oh, geez, the child prodigy. So in 2002, I bought and sold. Well, I didn't buy. I set up and sold my first ecom business within 6 months. So we set it up. We bought tanning products. These kind of products that you wear on a tanning bed. We sold those online, and then one of the suppliers of the tanning products bought that business out. They're like, well, this online thing seems interesting. And this was obviously very early ecom days. It was the easiest sale in the world that I've ever done, Jaryd. I'm not going to lie. It was an absolute dude. It was so easy, right? Because it was like, can I buy it? I'm like, yeah, what do you want to pay for it? And it's like, how about this? And I went, all right. Next day, the money's in my account. Here's the password. How about cool. it, right? It was amazing. No due diligence, no nothing. I mean, they did due diligence in the sense that they saw how much I was selling because I was buying from them, right?
Correct.
So that was super easy. And in my naivety, I just thought every sale was going to be like that going forward. How wrong I was. Yeah.
I've got a friend who has he was just visiting in Bali, and he has an e-commerce business selling red light therapy lights, and he's getting bought out by his supplier as well. And it's such a smart move for manufacturers to acquire their sales channels. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you do that sort of, merge and acquisition and roll up in that fashion, It's the way to go.
Yeah, it is, because it gives you access to the direct to consumer, doesn't it? There was one company that we had. It was a beauty brand, right? It was a beauty website called Jersey Beauty Company, and one sort of horror story on this, I suppose, was we had a supplier. Talk about risk. A lot of our business came from one supplier, and that supplier, a skincare provider, changed in 2012. Sent me a letter saying we're changing our terms and conditions of supply. Bearing in mind we'd done 6 million revenue the year before, so it wasn't an insignificant amount of their product we were selling. 80% of those sales are probably attributed to their brand. And they sent me a letter in 2012 saying we're changing our terms and conditions of supply. Basically, the more you buy, the more you pay. Which I appreciate sounds really odd, but what it did was it forced us to have to put our prices up overnight. I can't say it was price fixing because I don't want to get sued, but it's a very grey area. Let's just put it that way, right? So our prices went up, and inevitably, what happened was because our prices we couldn't discount. The manufacturer of the supplier of the product started to sell the products online themselves, and they started to not discount the price, but they gave gifts with purchase, which we couldn't compete with. Do you see what I mean? And over a period of like 5 years, they sort of took most of the market back into them. Now, it's not entirely true that they've got all, I mean, there are still other people selling their products, but this is one of those risks that we're talking about, really, that actually we were so connected to that one supplier that anybody and we almost sold the business when it was at its height. There was an e-com group here in the UK that was sniffing around. And I think they were a little bit scared because we were so dependent on that one supplier. And you can see why, because it did come and bite us in the arse, you know.
I remember you sharing more of that story on my podcast as well. And it's super common that when people acquiring that business will look at what risk is involved with that supplier and also look into the relationship and the goodwill within that relationship as well. And it's, as things evolve and change for you, you know, there's pros and cons to each, you know, having one relationship with one person makes business and that sort of better. And if you can sell it to them, it'd be silly for them to not acquire it. But if you go down the other route of I've got multiple suppliers and you go, oh, well, I want to sell it, and who's you know in the circle, the network that I could sell it to easily, you've got a bunch of different suppliers that you may need to go to then, and they're like, oh, well, how do we don't manufacture this product, it'd be a bit of a risk for us to do that. So yeah, it's an interesting game, and they're the best lessons, right, Matt? Like I think people should go and listen to the podcast that where we spoke about it more in depth. That you know, hearing a story around that, in hindsight, they're the lessons that we learn that make us better business owners and entrepreneurs that help us get larger exits in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really. We'll put a link to that episode in the show notes. Do check it out. We do talk about it a bit more. You're right. So how can you talked about mitigating risk. So, you know, single source problems, key person. How do I actually start to mitigate some of these things? What have you seen people do that has sort of been creative or have worked well, that have, you know, mitigated risk and add value?
Is really the first philosophy would be thinking about who you're selling the business to, and how do you make it an absolute no-brainer for them where they have very minimal risk. So that's the sort of philosophy and the lens that you need to look through. And so for somebody that has it's removing single source dependency like we mentioned, but also with sales as well. Like, say you're selling on Facebook, what happens if your Facebook account gets shut down, you know, for X amount of days? Or Amazon is so common with Amazon. I had a client that was doing like 20 mil a year in Amazon sales, and, you know, it was going to be, if he was going to sell it and he was going to sell this to his manufacturer, they would be looking at how many days and how much time is the business down and off Amazon to deduct that from the business. You know, it's 25 grand a day in sales gone, and it's at 2 days where the listing is taken down. It's 50 grand off the price. You know, if you're doing a 1 year multiple, or 100 grand if you're doing a 2 year multiple. So it's working out like, all right, cool. How do we shift some of those sales to other channels and not be so reliant on one single source of traffic and revenue? Yeah,
that's such a powerful point. One of the companies I spoke to recently, 98% of their sales were on Amazon, and I know that there are companies out there that love the Amazon aggregators that love those kind of things. But for me, who I'm a little bit more, you know, traditional e-com, I like to see sales going through your website. I like to see an email list that you own. You know, they're valuable assets in a lot of ways. And I kind of think if it's that reliant on another company I spoke to, you know, big Amazon, big Etsy. So they're splitting it, but they're still reliant on third-party sellers. Makes me really nervous. And I appreciate that's just me, but it does make me nervous.
What's super attractive for a buyer, like if I'm going to acquire an e-commerce business, if I can find an e-commerce business where 70% of the traffic and the revenue comes from organic, from say Google, that is huge, right?
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
It's harder. It's far harder to build that than to jump on Amazon or Facebook and just shove money at a product to market it versus the longer term strategy of keywords, good contents, building that out over many years. That's a way that you can decrease your risk and get a higher multiple if you're looking, if you're looking to do that for your e-commerce business is play the longer game.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, the longer game, there's a lot of bumps you hit along the road and challenges, but delayed gratification is one of the most beautiful things, I believe. And the compounding effect of what can come from the work that you do and the results in the future if you're really going for a great exit.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I like that. I think what are some of the other markers that you look? So if you're buying an e-commerce business, because this I think will help people if they're thinking of selling, like how do I design this business in such a way that makes it more sellable? So what are the markers are you looking at? So 70% organic traffic is a beautiful thing. What are some of the other sort of tails that you have where you kind of go, okay, I'm going to look a little bit more here?
Yeah, I just want to frame this that for what I'm looking for may be different to somebody else, but I'll try to keep it general. If you're doing a strategic acquisition, you might be looking for a specific a product or a specific marketing channel that has been tapped out, but you might know that, all right, they've done Facebook marketing really well, but they haven't really done Google ads well, or they tried and they failed, but say I'm a genius at Google ads, I'd be looking at something like that. So understand what your skills are, or maybe not just the skills that you have, but skills that people that you know and trust and you'd be willing to pay, that you can bring them on board and grow the business in that way. I'll be looking for growth opportunities in that way. So first things first is like the risk is how do I, like we've basically talked about the risk. You'd be looking at obviously organic traffic, great email list, and some channels that are untapped. And then working out, what skills can you bring in that will help grow the business. I also like to see e-commerce businesses that are just maybe have like 2 or 3 products that are like, they know they're good products and they're selling them mostly. And then, what's worked for me in the past, helping somebody grow an e-com business is building out their, customer lifetime value or average order value, depending on what you want to call it. Average order value for one-time purchases and customer lifetime value for future purchases. Another cool thing is that, is there room to add upsells and downsells? Is there room to turn this into a bit of a membership business or have a membership product run alongside with, the product that we are selling, the top 3 best sellers? Room like that to move, they're attractive for sure. Especially if you can do your competitive research and you see that there's a business with a similar type of product already doing that in your space. You just go, great, we can just look at that strategy and not do the exact same strategy. We don't copy, we mimic and we make it better. And those are the cool things I'd be looking for.
It's really interesting what you're saying here, Jaryd, and I love how you preface this by saying this is what I look for. It's not what everyone looks for, because everyone's different. And just going back to something you mentioned earlier, there is a lot of strength and wisdom, I think, in figuring out the type of person that's going to buy your business and talking to them about what it would take to sell the business. Now, you might not be ready to sell it now. You might be going, I'm going to exit this in 3 years. But understanding who it is that's going to buy it in 3 years, and then going to them and saying, what are you looking for, right? What do you need from me to make this a no-brainer deal at some point in the future? And when I get close to that, I'll give you a ring and see if you're still interested. It's not a guarantee. They may have changed the rules in the next 3 years. But actually, when it comes to selling a business, to not just assume that actually if I've got, this much turnover and this much profit, everything's going to be okay. But you can do that, but you can position your business in such a way that it's a bit more valuable, even with the same turnover and the same profits, because you've had those conversations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're thinking with the end in mind, which if you have thought or learnt anything about personal development, then that's a really good strategy, is thinking with the end in mind. And it's not, it's not rocket science, but sometimes we get so caught in the weeds, Matt, of I need to make this Facebook ad work and this email marketing system work, when we can sometimes take a step back and go, hang on, what are the questions I should be asking myself? The quality of the questions determine the quality of your life. The quality of questions you ask about your business can determine the quality of your business, and that can determine the quality of the business towards somebody that you're actually wanting to sell it to. So asking those questions is so critical. There's a really a smart guy. His name's Keith Cunningham, and he built he's a very smart entrepreneur, but he's a great real estate investor as well. And he built a lot of wealth and then lost a lot of wealth and then built that wealth back up. And he wrote a book called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And it's what he prescribes in the book is I guess I'll give you the quick bit of it, is take time out of your day or your work schedule and schedule it in your calendar and call it thinking time, and then just think about your business and just write down all the questions. Now, if you're trying to exit and you're trying to, the type of company that's going to acquire that, say for example, somebody's building a video content platform that shares great long form videos, and they're going to make money from people publishing on that, right? And they're going to put ads on it and people are going to start. And it's basically like a small YouTube competitor. You'd want to sit in the shoes and the eyes and the lens of the people that run YouTube and go, what do they, how do I build this business where it gets to a point where it's so big and they go, we can't not acquire this. They're taking up too much market share, and we need to either acquire it and merge it in, or acquire it and do something with it.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very good. I love the title of the book, The Road Less Stupid.
Yeah.
That's a great title. That tickled me. But I should definitely read that on my way to Sub Summit this year as I fly out in a couple of weeks. I fly out next week, actually. But yeah, I think you're right. The value in that. And what I've noticed here is, Jaryd, and I don't know if you've noticed this, actually, if I get involved in a company, usually my strategy, I acquire a smaller percentage because I'm not after any more operational roles in my company. I'm not going to lie. I just don't need them. And so, but we take what I've noticed is, because of that, we come in almost like a partner. And the person running the business, or the couple running the business, or the family running the business, or whoever's running that business, get caught up in the weeds. They don't know where to take it to the next level. This is another common thing that I see. They don't know how to get that next stage of growth, so they need some help. And the founders and the owners are so busy that actually just saying, put thinking time in the diary, is almost like slapping them across the face with a wet fish. It's like, don't you know what my life is like, And so what I've noticed is, actually, when we get involved in businesses, we actually create that space to do that thinking. We think with them. We actually, one of the things that we do, I suppose, is we take them aside and say, no, it is time to think. Let's ask some questions and let's have some conversation. And it seems to be that's a lot of the value that we bring in many ways,
That's amazing. That's it's such a gift. I don't think people appreciate or have gratitude towards, somebody helping them develop a growth mindset that they're going to be able to apply, not just in their business, but in their life as well, in different ways. The reason I talk about this book, The Road Less Stupid, is because I actually had that happen to me in my business. Is I had a business partner, and I was just like hustle mode. Like, I just thought I needed to work harder. And the harder I worked, the more money I was going to make. And that's, what I was indoctrinated into from the content that I was consuming at the time. And I had a business partner who was like, hang on, like, let's just stop and let's just work out what are the top two to three things that you do in business that are going to that are getting you the results.
Yeah.
And then, and so he became a business partner, and every week or every 2 weeks we would have a call and he'd start asking me these sorts of questions, and then, prescribe some homework. Oh, have a think about, like, how does this work for you? If we're going to do this, make this change, what would it look like for you if you're going to make this change? And go away and think about it over the week. That's your one task. Don't do the work, just, and embedded and integrated into me to do that. And I think it's an amazing thing that you get to do that with your clients as well, is because they're the ones that understand the business the best. And coming in with a fresh lens and a fresh set of eyes with a fresh set of questions helps them to start to see things differently that they may have never seen before. Could be one little small unlock that equals a massive change.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually, because we are, if I put my consulting coaching hat on, you go into a business, you have conversations, you come up with a strategy and a plan where, there is this growth involved. But 9 times out of 10, what I've noticed is, and it's the same with online courses, right? People will do an online course, they'll get the learning, the information. They will get a coaching or a consultant if they've got the money. They get some learning, they get some information out of it. But if you go back to that same company 6 months later, it's like they've forgotten almost everything, because the default of the day-to-day grind, the routine, has sort of taken over again. And it's always after the course, after the consultation, after the coaching, it's always, I'll get round to that. I just need to sort this out. And before you know it, 6 months, 12 years have gone past, and you've completely forgotten about that whole thing. How do we stop ourselves doing that? It's a really intriguing problem that I see quite often, and I'd love to know how to stop it.
I think reflection is, like, that could be the answer that we've already got is in the book, The Road Less Stupid, is coming back and thinking about, and rather than just doing. It's funny that I have this philosophy that I called inside out growth, because with inside out growth is people will look outwards to work out what are the strategies I need to do in my business. And typically that can be listening to a podcast or YouTube video or an influencer or doing a course or whatever it is, and seeing that this business or that person got this sort of result. I need to bring that out from the outside into my business and use that marketing strategy or use this tactic. However, I think the inside out growth method is better, because if you learn to listen to your business and learn to tune into your business, it will tell you things, and it will show you things of, like, this is working really well. This is not working so well. What should I do? Oh, okay, let's lean into what's working really well and drop a little bit of what's not working so well. And we can grow the business without us having to bring things from the external to the and make them internal, when it could just cause a complete mess. I had a client come to me once that was like, Jaryd, I've done like 35 marketing courses or something ridiculous, because the owner of the business, he was like the CMO, right? The owner of the business was like fractional CMO. The owner of the business bought me all these courses and wanted to do like this email marketing campaign and then run these types of ads and do these sorts of things. And the business isn't growing. And I said to him, yeah, man, like, you're trying to do all these things and you're doing them. Everybody's said this before, you're doing all these things and doing none of them well. And plus that's coming from the outside. What if you stopped and said, where's most of the revenue come from? He'd never asked himself that. Okay, and all right, so it's from these few products. Okay, which of those few products is the better one? Okay, it's from this number one product. Okay, cool. So what if we did an order bump and an upsell, and we increased the average order value, and then we only just ran marketing campaign to that one, and we forgot everything else? How do you think the business would go? And he's like, oh my God, that would be smart. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just, I just have a different lens and you're caught in the stuff, it's interesting though. I think we get indoctrinated with so much content out there, and us comparing ourselves to other businesses and other people, that we need to bring this stuff in for us to be successful, when we can actually have far more fulfillment in our business if we just slow the heck down.
Yeah, that's so powerful, man. So powerful. And like, I love this idea of listening to your business and figuring out what makes sense for your business, the inside out approach, because you're right. I think the desire to find the latest silver bullet in e-commerce is unbelievable. I mean, everybody you speak to, there's got to be something. Should I do TikTok shop? What's the next thing? Maybe you should. I don't know, but it's like you're constantly looking for the next silver bullet. And I don't know. I think digital marketing for me is still 95% old school principles and doing them well. You know, it's it's got to be right. Or maybe I'm just a bit old fashioned because I was 12 and when I sold my first business.
True. Yeah. I'm with you though. Like it's what works on TikTok. The reason it works is because of old school marketing tactics and principles and philosophies that have been used forever. Talk about headlines, right? What's going to work? What's gets the most views on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever it is? It's like the headline buys you in, and then like the capture, maybe like the quick shot capture or the thumbnail, it draws your attention. What do they do in newspapers all this time ago? The headline. That's what got you into the story. It's like, it's old school stuff. But people think, oh no, it's TikTok that's going to get me the result. It's not TikTok. It's like, learn the basic principles from great marketers, like Frank Kern and like people even before Frank Kern's mentors, these guys are Gary Halbert, like one of the greatest copywriters of all time. These guys are the one. I'm not a copywriter, but I've learned some of this stuff from these guys, and it's apply. It doesn't just apply to business; it applies to all areas of life. It's like sales and marketing is life. Like we're always selling ourselves anyway.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true. I still maintain, when I go into an e-com business and look at it, whether to get involved, whether to cope, whatever it is, or even my own businesses, my own e-com business, I'm obsessed with 3 metrics, right? Number of customers, average order value, and average order count, as in how many times those customers buy from us in a fixed period of time. I'm obsessed with those 3 numbers. And you know why I'm obsessed with those 3 numbers is because I remember years ago, I mean, this was, in the 90s, when I was, about 6, I think. But in the 90s, when I was in my early 20s, actually, I went to a Jay Abram talk.
Yeah.
He did this big session in person in the UK, and a friend of mine got us tickets. And I remember going to it, and he said there's only 3 ways to grow a business. You either grow the number of customers, the average order value, or what he called the average order frequency, we now call average order count. And he was talking about strategies to grow all 3. And then he said if you take those strategies and run them alongside each other, you get geometric growth. And he pulled out how that all worked. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is genius. And that has stayed with me throughout all the digital stuff that I've done over the last 22 years.
Wow.
It's crazy. Old school marketing.
Old school, man. He's such a lord, that guy. Like, he's Jay Abraham. I've read his book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got.
Yeah, great
it's a
book.
Pretty cool book. Yeah.
Great book, especially if you want to get into referral marketing.
Yes.
And, the upsells and the cross-sells, it's all in there. I mean, it's old school stuff applied in modern school ways, right? Jaryd, listen, I am aware of time, and I always love our conversations. You're such an easy person to chat to, man, and I get 1,000 good ideas whenever we talk to each other, which is great. Before we end, though, 2 questions. First of all, what's your question for me? We do this thing whereby you ask me a question. I don't answer it now. I answer it on social media. It's a sneaky way for me to grow my social media following. But go ahead. What's your question?
What would be 3 things that you would share with somebody that wants to buy? What would be 3 things that you would share with somebody that is wanting to grow their e-commerce business for the long term, with a long-term exit in mind? Yeah.
Very good. What are 3 things that I would say to somebody who wants to grow their e-com business over the, with a long-term sale in mind. Love
Yes.
that. I'm going to ponder that. I have some ideas. I will share them on social media. Yes, I will. So if you want to hear my answer to that question,
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, it's going to be on social media. So just follow me on social. Just go find it at Matt Edmundson. You'll find me. Jaryd, listen, it has been an absolute treat, man. How do people find you? How do they connect with you? If they want to do that, if they want to find more about what you do, how you can help them maybe sell a business or even help them acquire businesses, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jaryd Krause. You can find me on all the channels. My website is buyingonlinebusinesses.com. And if you guys just send me an email, maybe listen to the podcast, start with the podcast from Matt and myself, and then just see if you just like, what I talk about. And if you're into my style and, do you think I might be able to help you, reach out, just send me a message, Jaryd at buyingonlinebusiness.com. And if I can't help you, maybe I can refer you to somebody who can.
Fantastic. We will, of course, link to Jaryd in the show notes. And it's fair to say Jaryd is spelled slightly differently to how we spell it in the UK. Jaryd, which is that a common spelling in your part of the world, or is it still unusual for you as well?
No, it's actually pretty unusual. I've only met one other person that has the name spelled the same way. He is Australian. What's funny, in where I live in Bali, in Indonesia, nobody can pronounce my name, and even when they see it spelled, so they just call me Jerry. That's my name over here, is Jerry, which
Jaryd
I'm not
Krause.
stoked about at all. But yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I just thought it was a really cool way to spell the name. I thought if I ever call my kid Jaryd, I'd totally spell it like that because it's just cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my
It's like
parents
when
were just out of the box a little bit, I think.
Well, I've got a son called Zach, and Sharon and I, my wife and I, when we named him, we just really liked the name Zach. We just thought it was cool, and we're like, let's not. On his birth certificate, I didn't want to write Zachariah or Zachary. Or, do you know what I mean? We were just like, no, he's just going to be Zach because everyone's just going to call him Zach. So why give him, And we're like, let's not spell it Z-A-C like everybody. Let's just spell it Z-A-K because we can and we're cool and we're
Yes, that is great. I do like it. I was thinking as soon as he says Zach, I'm like, it's got to be a K, surely.
Yeah, it's got to be a K all day long. And all the Zachs with a C going, what's wrong with the way I spell it? Absolutely nothing. No. We were it's just the way we were as parents. And if you're Jaryd with an E, that's fine as well.
Yeah, or an O.
Yeah, or an O. Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Listen, Jaryd, totally stoked, man. Love the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, me too. Like, I love the questions. I love the discussion. And like you said, it's always a pleasure to chat. So thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, appreciate it.
No worries. Hope the surf is good. On the surf mission is fruitful.
Yes. Thank you. It has been so far. So very happy.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, like I say, of course, we will link to Jaryd's info in the show notes, which you can get for free, along with the transcript and everything at eCommercepodcast.net. Or, of course, if you sign up to the newsletter, that'll be coming straight to your inbox. So, another fantastic conversation. Huge thanks again to Jaryd for joining me today. Also, be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got yet more great conversations lined up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Jaryd's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, the e-commerce podcast is produced by PodJunction. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainon, Tanya Hutzlak, who are both beautiful people. Our theme music was written by Josh Edmundson. He's also a beautiful fella. And as I mentioned, if you'd like to read the transcript or show notes, head over to the website ecommercepodcast.net. But that's it from me. That's it from Jaryd. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.